One thing I've learned about top fishing pros is that they're always experimenting with different ways to catch fish. The reason is that to stay ahead of the game, they've got to fish differently to everybody else. They know that if they fish the same way as everybody else, they'll get the same results. Average. Winning tournaments is all about using your time efficiently to put your bait in front of as many fish as possible. But if you fish for pleasure, isn't your time just as important?
I had black mama one day when my partner wasn't catching any fish. I snuck down into my tackle box and I pulled out a black mama. I'm not going to tell you the color, but I snuck down in there, put the black mama on, and I started throwing it across the pads and letting it sink down into the holes. And up popped the 4, 7, 5 pound largemouth, just like a dose of salts. He come up there, he whacked that thing, and I didn't think I was going to get him because I wasn't really paying attention, but he ate that bait. He just inhaled it, and it actually got us to the Classic and made us $5,000 that weekend.
A good buddy of mine introduced me to this lure. I looked at it, I wasn't too sure with it. It looked neat. I took it out, I used it, it produced fish right away, and after that we won a tournament with it.
A couple of weeks back, Dan, my partner, and I decided to pre-fish for a tournament. We got out to our favorite spot, fired out our favorite confidence baits, and after the first couple of 2-pounders, the fishing died off, and it started to get pretty tough. So before we left, I decided to throw the black mamba, and I tell you, first cast, bang, I got a 3.5 pounder. Second cast, bang, 4 pounder. Third cast, bam, I got a 4.5 pounder. Dan's looking at me saying, why is he catching any fish? So I let them a couple black mambas that I had, and we both started catching fish right away. We cleaned the spot out. I tell you, when the fishing gets tough, the tough go fishing with the black mamba.
We won a bass tournament this year with a black mamba jerkbait, and it just felt awesome to go up there with the 5 fish using that bait.
And I had a friend, he had never fished a tournament in his life, and he wanted to try one. By the end of the day, Ray and I had boated over 50 fish, and we finished 9th. Now, we didn't win, but for someone that didn't pre-fish, hadn't been on the water for 2 or 3 years, we shouldn't have even got close to being in the money, and finishing 9th was just fantastic.
Now, a lot of the lakes that we tournament fish on, you know, the real shallow, fertile lakes, where a lot of the fish will get on docks a lot of times, and you know, I feel on some of those lakes I'm going to tear them up this year on this bait.
We were down in a tournament in the United States in Arkansas, and we had the new color black mamba bait out, Emerald Shiner, and we pre-fished with it, and it was working real well. And one of the locals got a hold of that bait from us, and they stole all we had. When we went out in the tournament, we didn't have any black mambas, and guess who won the tournament? The guy that stole our black mamba Emerald Shiners.
Oh, what's to think? It's a beautiful lure. Does everything you wouldn't want it to do. My partner and I, we have probably 300 different lures we use in a tournament. This will eliminate at least half of them. It floats, sinks slowly, turns on itself, won't get caught. You don't have to weight it. And suspend it anywhere you want. It can sit in the strike zone for longer than any lure I've seen. It's a perfect lure.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of an edge over the average fisherman out there maybe. You know, lots of times in tournaments especially, you're fishing water, you might be the 4th, 5th, 10th boat through a spot. So if you're doing something a little different, you got something a little different, that can make a big difference some days. I like it a lot more than a contemporary jerkbait. I find the wider body gives a lot slower fall rate than a typical soft jerkbait.
What does that do for you?
I find it gets fish, it's a little more neutral, it gets fish that are a little more laid back. The slower drop rate gets fish that are really been pressured hard on a lot of our local lakes now. And I find it just gives them a little more time to think about what they're actually chasing.
You get fishing when it gets slow in the afternoon. It's amazing. Like I say, when you can't get fish on anything else, you use these mambas and slow the presentation down. They're great, like awesome.
They beat most lures. They catch more fish and they just have a unique body. And I think that's what makes them great.
What I like about this is there's not a bigger bait out there for pitching. It's a good sized bait. It's got a good bulk to it. It's got a slow fall. It's not a fast falling bait. And it works, it catches fish.
Black Mamba Baits sponsored the Ontario Junior Bassmasters team in 2002, which I was a member of. We went down to the Delaware on the Nanticoke River against 14 other teams, and we beat them by a long shot. We caught a lot more fish. Our fish were way bigger, and I've had confidence in those baits ever since.
I threw it on, let it float down about 6 inches over some coontail, and in my area there's a lot of cabbage coontail. I no sooner made 3 casts, and I had a 6.5 pound largemouth, which really impressed me. So it turned a jig fisherman into more of a topwater, and I'm not going to say expert because I do have that in my arsenal, but it made me a true believer of black mamba.
The bait itself in particular is excellent for skipping under docks. Bass just come up and nail it compared to other baits. It's absolutely awesome. I love it.
I just used this one here Sunday in the Redman tournament in Toho. I caught my first fish on it, first fish on topwater. If a fish strikes this and he misses it, you just let it flutter back down. It won't go another. Every fish I've had come back to this bait hasn't let it drop more than 6-7 inches, and they will hit it again.
I spent a fortune with the fishing. I fished the tournaments. I've spent big dollars on the boat, big dollars on the truck, and all the equipment. And when it comes to price to lures, it doesn't matter. As long as we're out there in the tournaments producing fish, that's all it counts when we come into the weigh-in. And with these Black Mamba lures, we bring the fish in.
You know, spending a lot of time fishing, you know, the thicker stuff, these Mambas work awesome because you don't spend a lot of time pulling crap off. That is a nice fish.